and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to Nerd Fight! The ultimate showdown where geek culture collides with unfiltered opinions and passionate debates. I'm your host, Mr. Know-It-All, bringing you the latest and greatest from the world of movies, TV shows, and all things nerdy. But hold on to your warp cores because the real captain of this starship is none other than Salty Trekker. So strap in for a wild ride as we're going to discuss Agatha All Along, plus take your questions on this open mic Nerd Fights. You don't want to miss it. That means only one thing. It's time to fight. Nerd Fights.
Boom! Welcome to Nerd Fights.
And you still haven't updated the intro.
No, I know. Well, because it was the same thing. We're talking about literally.
Yeah, but you just say Agatha All Along and open lines.
And open mic. We're going to open mic it. We're going to talk a little bit about Penguin, of course, as well. Last episode's good episodes this week of both. And yeah, man, everybody's doing some fun stuff. And of course, we can't wait to talk about whatever's happening in the fun world that you guys want to talk about, which is why we absolutely love having the chat open. So if you are live chatting with us, we're going to actually talk to you, which is fun. So yeah, how's your week been, sir?
Exhausting.
I hear that. How's everything? How's everything being the world's ride?
Well, wife is recovering, so she feels like she'll be able to drive by the end of the month, which is a good thing because at the end of the month, I will officially be a cyborg. I got my scheduled date for my first cybernetic implantation.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah, which will be October 25th.
From there on forward, you realize any vote you have regarding AI or anything is suspect.
Yes, because AI will be in me.
In you, physically.
Yes, quite literally.
That's so rough.
Yes.
I love it, though. No, I love it, though.
Some people are into AI.
Yes,
AI is into me.
You, yeah, totally. I love it. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh my God, what did you think of so what did you think of all the fun stuff on television this week?
What fun stuff?
All kinds of stuff. What are you talking about? Their show's never ending. Legit. I'm sitting here watching stuff. I'm sitting here going, saying to myself, how do I not watch everything? Because even if I'm not into Rings of Power, I have so many friends in my private life who have been like, are you watching Rings of Power? Because they know the kind of stuff I would be into normally.
Right.
And I'm like, no, because Rings of Power sucks. But I don't want to tell them that. So I'm like, I have to catch up.
Oh, so now you're going to watch it.
No, I'm not going to watch it. But
you just said now you have to catch up.
That's what I tell people. I'm not going to actually watch that show. It's
terrible.
Oh,
so you're lying to people.
It's terrible. It's not good, and I can't bring myself to watch more than I told you. I didn't quit it because I didn't like it. I quit it because other more important things, like I don't know, watching paint dry happen. That's all.
You were just saying how there was all this great content to watch.
There is great content to watch, mostly.
So what you're saying is you're just kind of a jerk.
Hold on, what's this say? So are you on both channel or on Salty somewhere? Are you both on this channel or is Salty somewhere else? So the channels we are currently on are I live stream on my channel because support. He live streams on the Salty Plus channel
which is a new channel.
Yes. Formerly it was the Salty and Pepper channel, but now that's she falls into the Plus.
Yes.
So that's right.
I thought we were just going to eventually move it to the NerdFights channel, though.
It is on the NerdFights channel right now, also.
Yes.
Which is at NerdFighting, YouTube.com/@NerdFighting.
Right. So it's currently on 4 channels plus Mr. Know-It-All's X account. I guess I should probably include my X account on there too, but
I don't know if you guys broke up. It's not one enough use to get it. That's the fun wordplay you get when you have a platform like X.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like is the only reason why he changed the name. What's it say? It sucks so bad. It was the most watched show on Amazon. Okay, because people don't have discerning tastes is not the flex you think it is. But I'm with you. Because here's the thing, I've got tons of lay people who are not familiar with any of the backstory that I'm familiar with, who actually really enjoy it, and I'm not going to call them dumb. I absolutely, hey man, if you guys like it, that's awesome. I'm coming at it from a slightly different place, which is the reason why I know for a fact I'm biased. 100%, I know that. So I'm the last person you want to ask about that particular thing, but I'm also willing to say that I'm biased. So, take that for whatever it's worth.
Well, clearly you're just a jerk.
Because that's what it's got to be, right? Those are the only options it can possibly be. God forbid I
Well,
have
I
a
mean,
political opinion.
look, I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I thought season 1 was, well, yeah. Here's the thing: you can actually sit there and defend Star Trek Discovery, and you want to act like Rings of Power, which is an honest to goodness attempt at basically making something that feels like it's in the same world that Peter Jackson created. At least they're not like all of a sudden using pump action phaser rifles and everything looks different, and say now the elves are like 12 feet tall and have.
The dwarves rather have built like dwarven pump action weapons.
I think you're confusing this show with World of Warcraft.
Yeah, no, totally. No, it's legit. World of Warcraft gets ridiculous. Like they've got like Gatling guns made out of you just crank, and I'm like, stop it.
They look like weapons like the Flintstones made them.
No, absolutely.
Creep wants to know what's the link to where I am.
Salty is at youtube.com/saltyplus.
So if you're trying to figure out like how to super chat me, currently you cannot.
I think they can still reach you at the anti-trekker too. I think that's one of the you've got.
Yeah, but we're not streaming on that channel, so they can't super chat on that channel unless we're streaming on it.
That's right.
Until we get the Salty Plus or NerdFights monetized.
Okay, look, I told him that he needed to do that. So I'm just saying. But you know what that means? We need everyone to get on there who is on the other channel. If we can get everybody over here, then you'd be in good shape.
Well, and that's why I'm going to be working on putting out some content, which someone's supposed to be editing but didn't.
What are you talking about? I am working on it. I'm working on everything.
I'm working.
Got you.
I'm working on it as the modern day equivalent of the checks in the mail.
No, I'm working on it. I can't do this show and work on it all at the same time. Something has to give.
So unfortunately, I will be super chat less on this stream. But if you do want to super chat me, you can still do it like tomorrow morning and stuff. So, although tomorrow's live stream for me is going to, I got to figure this out because I got a friend. I usually do the live stream around 8 or 9 in the morning, and I got a friend who I need to pick up from the airport at 9.
So start it early.
Well, yeah, I could either do the live stream way early or I can do it late. So I wish he had picked a better time for his flight. It's really annoying.
I can't believe when people don't think about our YouTube schedules. I mean,
right. They don't think of it as a schedule. They just think, oh, come on, it's just a YouTube thing.
Oh, yes. No, that's true. I absolutely know for a fact that's true. It wasn't until the very first time I showed one of my parents my very first YouTube check that they were like, "Oh, this is a thing," and I'm like, "Yes, it's a thing." So anyway,
so you were talking about all this great content, and then you proceeded to crap all over Rings of Power. So where is this great content you were talking about?
No, I'm just like, there's a lot of good stuff out there in general. There really has been. The television itself, that new Vince Vaughn show I heard looks really good. That's I think it's like Monkey Man or Monkey in the Middle or something like that, and he's about a former police officer who gets stuck into this crazy whatever. It's just not my normal genre stuff, but it's pretty interesting. Like there's a lot of cool stuff out there.
So you're watching a monkey guy?
No, that was an anime that was on I think it was Adult Swim, and it was actually a Marvel property, to be honest.
So monkey guy is a Marvel character.
You didn't see that? No, and actually it's like a monkey detective something or other. It's very, very strange. You didn't see that?
No, I do not know Monkey Detective.
Really?
No.
Let me see if I can find it. It was actually a pretty interesting Monkey Detective from Marvel. Bobo T. Chimpanzee. Not what I was looking for. Oh, I remember this one. Bobo, he literally is like Sherlock Holmes as a thing. But no, I'm talking about... Detective Chimp is what it's called.
Okay. So you're watching Detective Chimp.
I should be, because that's a great name.
So you have a show that is not your normal thing, Rings of Power. What else?
I just told you the Vince Vaughn one. Did you not catch that part?
No. Vince Vaughn has a new show.
Yeah. The Vince Vaughn one it's Monkey. It's like on Apple. It's an Apple it's an Apple show. I think it's like
With Vince Vaughn as a chimp.
no, it's a trying to be clever. It's called Monkey Man. Let's see. It's got detective turned restaurant inspector in Key West is pulled into a world of greed and corruption after a tourist finds a severed arm while fishing. Welcome to Florida. And the show is actually called Bad Monkey, as I get continuous texts from my wife.
You see, you can't even get the name of your show right.
I haven't watched it. I'm saying there's good stuff out there to watch.
So you haven't watched it, but you're judging a book by its cover, is what you're saying.
Actually, no, I saw the trailer, and I also watched a couple of marketing stunts he did on several different YouTube channels.
But you're willing to diss Rings of Power without watching it.
I have watched Rings of Power. I told you I watched the first.
You did not watch
episodes
season
of
2, now did you?
No, God, no. Why would I? For the first
Because everybody's saying
watched,
season 2 is so much better.
the few episodes I watched of season 1 didn't exactly sell me on it. And just because everyone goes, "Oh no, please, we promise this is better," I hate to break it to you, I've seen ex-girlfriends do the same thing, and it ain't always better. So yeah.
Wait, you've seen ex-girlfriends?
No, really, it's gonna be better this time. I promise. No, I'm okay. Thanks anyway. So yeah, no, that's my whole thing. It's like they did a bad job, did a piss poor job trying to pull me in the first go around. I wasn't exactly expecting this to be the magnum opus that was going to suddenly lurch me in.
Yeah.
I'm not a Rings of Power fan. You're more than welcome to opine on it if you want.
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not going to say it's good or bad.
I haven't seen season 2. I've seen season 1.
I saw season 1 and I enjoyed season 1. That's what. But just because you have no taste doesn't mean that you shouldn't watch it.
Okay.
I don't know. That didn't come out as
the question is, is the sun trying to come in the window from you? Because every time you look up, every time you put your head and you tilt your head to the one corner, it's like the rays of sunlight hit you.
Oh, that's from that light that's...
I got you.
Yeah. The diffuser is not exactly lined up with the light, so every now and then a little glint of the light.
It just glints over, and it's like you got shot in the face. Yeah, totally. You're going to start melting like in the...
So I come over here, and I'm in the direct light. And I come over here, and it's diffused.
True story. There you go. I think Thomas raises some good questions.
Yeah.
At least he isn't making lies about the show like a white guy with glasses and a little beard. Thomas, I'm not sure what show you're referring to, but right on, sir.
At least he isn't making lies about the show like a white guy with glasses and a little beard.
Hey, wait a minute. Who do we know that's a white guy with little glasses and a beard?
I don't quite follow that because I'm not lying about anything. But, and
And I see Creep is here too this morning.
Huh?
Creep made it in this morning. Morning,
yeah,
Benny.
Creep has been begging you to give him the link that you didn't give him, but then he finally found it. Oh, he's talking about Nerdrotic. Okay. See, he wasn't talking about me. You thought he was talking about me. He was talking about Nerdrotic.
Oh, got it. It's so difficult. You guys all look the same.
Now, Miss Moneypenny, you gotta stop calling Mr. Know-It-All Mr. KIA. It sounds like he's a murderer.
It really does, actually. What's going on here?
I mean, you realize he couldn't get a license plate that says Mr. KIA because they would say,
True story.
Yeah.
They absolutely would not let me.
That would be a great license plate for you.
Which wall? I have a wall of information. With the TV or the internet?
Oh, lying with he's talking about the triple timeline.
Oh, there you go. I love that.
You mean the triple truth wall?
That's right. The triple timeline of truth.
Yes. Awesome. Just because you can't handle the truth. Ooh,
no.
See what I did there? See what I did there?
Right on. All right. So one of the first things that we want to talk about today is the new episode of Agatha that came out. What did anything particular? Did you catch the episode yourself?
Of course. Unlike you, even if I didn't like the show, I would still watch it because we review it.
Agreed. I agree. All right, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about something we do review that we both liked and
Okay.
watched, which is Agatha All Along, episode 5.
So to summarize this episode, everybody's dead except for the kid, and we find out he's Scarlet Witch's son. The end.
That's what it kind of sounds to me like. Yeah, like seriously, it absolutely does sound like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to say this episode was bad by any stretch, but I do think, for me personally, this is the weakest of the episodes thus far.
Okay, what makes you say that?
Well, for one thing, I honestly thought it was a very weak sauce ending with everybody just mysteriously disappearing into mud baths, while we see, now the person that we probably think is, you're correct with your theory that it's Billy, kind of looking into the camera with Scarlet Witch's crown on. I'm not a big fan of that. Number one, it brings up way too many questions, like where did he come from?
Right. Well, it
Because
certainly overcomplicates a potential origin story for him that I think is like, which I mean, don't get me wrong, it's easy enough to sit here and go, okay, you're a multiverse, fine. But at the same time, it's like, well, why do you now have to explaining it? Is he really her son? Is he not? Is he just like what?
is
There
he
are a lot
from
of
another?
questions that are-
Is he from another universe? If he
Right.
is from another universe, how did he get here? Um, you know, and so on. Because you can't just say, well, Scarlet Witch pulled him over during Multiverse of Madness, because that didn't happen. If she had pulled him over during Multiverse of Madness, we would have seen him, because that would have.
That is the most fan. By the way, I agree with that mentality. But man, is that the most fan like it's like well, because if it would have happened, we would have seen it.
Yeah. But here's the problem, Thomas. The man and the woman relationship there is literally a vibrator.
That's awesome.
I mean, well,
Thomas Bot says, "Well, salty when a man and a woman love each other very much." Oh my god, that's hilarious.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too because I'm sitting here going, well, and then they, what did you think of them finally using like witch things and had them flying on broomsticks and how
I,
they did that whole thing?
that felt very Harry Potter to me.
So I have to admit, I was immediately the thing is mainly because we've been programmed because of that. Because I'm with you, is I was like, God, why does all broomstick handle writing from now on look like Harry Potter? Because it totally made me feel. It gave me completely Harry Potter vibes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And and also in a similar way as both Doctor Strange and Harry Potter, they kind of give a little, and actually they did it with the last Thor movie too, which I didn't like, is they gave too much personality to the broomsticks themselves.
I got you.
The broomstick should have no more personality than a car does. It's not a living thing. It's just a tool that
Magic doesn't make it alive.
Yeah, apparently, yeah, two people dance and then give each other a stick, and
It wasn't even like a dance. It was like a friendship buddy
Yeah.
something or other. It was really. It reminded me of. I don't know if you ever watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
yeah, yeah.
It reminds me of the little like two-step dance that they do when he first sees his cousin. When what's his name Ford Prefect first sees the president. What's his name?
Oh,
They do this little walking
walk.
around move. Yeah. And anyways, and so that's what it reminds me of because I'm like, okay, it's fine. And again, I enjoyed overall what they were doing with the even, but it's so because Mrs. Know-It-All immediately was like, oh, so we're gonna get all the cliches, and I was like, yeah, they're doing all the stereotypes, and
Yeah,
that's really
and like the shot of them flying against the moon and stuff. It
And
was,
she texts me, not how brooms work.
yeah, yeah. What would have been great is if one of them was riding a vacuum cleaner. That would have been.
I feel like that would have been. Isn't that like Hocus Pocus's gag?
I've never seen Hocus Pocus.
You've never seen Hocus Pocus?
No.
Bro, Hocus Pocus is amazing. It's so charming as a thing. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, look, Disney used to actually be original. Crazy.
Well, you know what? I prefer my horrific satanic creatures to be horrific and satanic as opposed to silly and goofy.
But somehow I feel like that would be more accurate.
Okay.
I just do. I feel like silly and goofy is the right way to get into a lot of people get into a lot of people's thought processes.
And hey, Arabic, how you doing? So,
They're finding you. See?
yeah. So, although most of them, it looks like, are actually on the Salty Plus channel as opposed to the Nerd Fights channel.
Yeah, you're getting there eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Once somebody gets the branding stuff done, then maybe.
I did. All this stuff is
Right.
branded.
Well, now we got to start figuring out a way to promote the channel too.
Agreed.
Yeah. Nerd Fights was mentioned on Nerdrotic. Really?
No way.
Are you being serious? Why would Nerdrotic mention maybe to talk about what a traitor I am? I don't know. Because
Yeah, that's what I hear.
because I don't hate everything.
You're good.
No, what did Gary say? I'm curious. And don't get me wrong. Look, while I disagree with the way he runs his channel, I still think Gary is a cool guy. You've never really met him, have you?
No.
Yeah, he is a genuinely nice guy.
I believe it.
But unfortunately, I think he's just fallen into that trap of, if he actually tried to do something positive about anything produced by Disney, oh man, he'd get crucified. So,
I hear
but
you.
he needs to have me on the show again like he used to, so he can have a dissenting voice. It's too much of an echo chamber on there. That's my opinion. I don't like echo chamber shows. I really don't. Which is sad because you and I have been agreeing so much lately.
Well, but the funny thing is, I love when we disagree though, because that's when it's more fun.
Yeah.
And that's been called out a couple times actually.
Did we agree too much?
No, when we disagree, it's more fun.
Yeah. Well, that's why you should watch Nerds Rings of Power, and we could have something to actually argue about.
I hate you so much. That might be a valid argument. That might be a valid discussion. I might be willing to. That might coax me in.
Right. So anyway, Gary said nothing, and Critical Drinker was talking about only 5 people like the Acolyte, and another dude said Nerd Fights. Oh, okay.
I don't like the Acolyte.
So
I talk so much.
Critical Drinker obviously wasn't paying attention because, unfortunately, well, not Critical Drinker, but whoever did the shout out of Nerd Fights, because I think the consensus was the show was the show wasn't the woke dumpster fire that the Fandom Menace kind of made it out to be, but it was not a well done show.
No, and that was my whole issue is I couldn't get to those issues because the show itself just wasn't good.
Right. It's just the problem is everybody was bitching and whining about lesbian space witches, and to be honest, that was barely. You could barely even call that a subplot.
That was the least offensive of the things I think that the show had going on for it.
Well, and it was so incidental to the show. It didn't. It didn't mean anything.
No.
And so that's
the problem I have too with a lot of the arguments that they've had, like Amanda Stenberg and some of the other folks. The lady who played the main mother, Anastasia, they come out and they have these conversations about this and that. People didn't like as a race. I'm like, I don't know about you. I didn't care that you were black. I cared that the story that you were telling was bad.
Right.
Like it just wasn't a good story. And that has nothing to do with whether or not there's lesbian space witches. It has to do with the bad writing.
Right. Now,
there's lesbian regular witches on TV right now with Agatha, and frankly, they're interesting.
Right.
And it's not because they're lesbians or witches; it's because the writing's compelling.
Yeah, the writing is much more much more in tune with who the characters are and what they're trying to do.
Right. And we have so much buy-in that we don't. That when I haven't bumped into any of those things.
Right. And the funny thing is, I mean, like, look at the picture that's on the screen right now. That picture could be the very definition of woke, right? Because, okay, so you have one white guy who's kind of put in as a second fiddle character. In fact, he's just referred to as Kid most of the time. And then you have a plethora of various diverse female characters.
Yes, we do.
And so, that ticks a lot. And two of them, at least, are apparently lesbians, just from the way that the way that Agatha and what's her name? I can never remember her name. The way that the two of them kind of gaze at each other and
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's implied, even even if it's not, explicitly stated.
Thomas, you can't be all three at once. I'm just saying.
What?
You got to pick a lane.
What was he saying?
His comment.
The kid is even LGBT. Well, is he?
I don't know. I just know that I think he is, but it's you can't be all the things.
Yeah.
You have to be one of them. So,
But I mean, maybe he identifies as a woman because he wants to be a witch. But
that's awesome.
but the plot and the story feels like a genuine continuation of WandaVision. It feels like there's something they're moving towards.
Agreed.
Whether or not it ends up making Agatha into a full-blown threat to the MCU, or Agatha redeems herself and becomes a force for good in the MCU.
Including a nanny to Nathan Richards.
Franklin, not Nathan.
Sorry, Franklin. That's right. Nathan was the brother or older, whatever.
Yeah.
I got it.
But he got a call from his boyfriend in episode.
No, but that's one of them. You put LGNB, and I'm like,
oh, he can't be lesbian, gay, and bisexual.
Yeah, you can't. You have to pick one of the lanes. I don't know.
Not necessarily. He could be.
I hate you so much.
A woman trapped in a man's body who prefers women but will have sex with both. Bam. Lesbian, gay, and bisexual.
All at the same time. Fair enough. I can't argue that point.
Yes. But anyway, none of, but their sexuality is not the focus of the story.
Not at all.
And so, and for me, and also, like, what really, when these people complain about the wokeness factor, whether it be the Acolyte or this, it's if that gets in the way of storytelling that it becomes a problem for me. And while the Acolyte definitely, I can't put all the letters. YouTube does have a limit. Okay, true.
Real. No, it's real.
Yeah, because it's currently what, LGBTQIAA plus, I think.
I think exactly. Yeah. LMNOP.
Which I still think that they should just put NSWM.
Which is
not straight white male. That covers everything. That literally covers everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But anyway, the funny thing about the Acolyte is the Acolyte definitely had its share of issues. Had a couple of strengths that unfortunately too many people are unwilling to talk about. Like Saul as a character, up until the last episode, was great.
No, I thought, but until they assassinated his character, I thought he was actually a very, very compelling one.
I actually thought there was some interesting dynamic between Saul and Green Chick, I can't remember her name, that they could have led up to something in future seasons and stuff. The Sith guy was actually kind of interesting from his perspective on things, but the main characters were just so bland, so boring, and did nothing.
Yeah.
And so
I'll go with that.
Yeah, and so, but the problem with the Acolyte was not the fact that Osha and now I'm forgetting the other sister's name. It was Osha and
Mia. No.
Anyway,
that's not unimportant there. Go on.
The two sisters' mothers. The fact that they were a lesbian couple meant nothing as far as my list of problems with the show.
Agreed.
Because honestly,
yeah,
because if they were conceived by manipulating midichlorians, then it doesn't matter what the gender of the parents are.
May,
yeah, that's right. Osha and May.
I was missing the oil, by the way, jumping in there.
Yeah. And Thomas just
and
put it in
Thomas
there
right
too.
at the same time.
But yeah, so if Osha and May's parents both happen to be women, I don't care. What I care about is the story any good? And unfortunately, the story had potential, but didn't never stuck the landing.
Yeah, I mean, and even in, yeah, yeah, that's really all there is to
So
it.
far, yeah, so far, Agatha, the story has been far more interesting.
Very.
And what about straight white women? Oh no, straight white women, dude, straight white women are the driving force behind woke. You know, so absolutely they have to be included in the community. I mean, my goodness, straight white women are the ones that get so angry. Like if I was to put on, say, a sombrero, straight white women were talking about how I was trying to be Mexican or something. You know, maybe I just like sombreros. You know, but whatever.
You're not allowed to. You know that.
Huh?
You're not allowed to. You know that.
Yeah. And yes, that's true, Thomas. The one horny mother touched the chin of the other mother. Yes, that is the
That happened.
only
All those
thing.
things happened.
That's the only thing that these guys. It's one shot of It's they didn't like. It's not like that. You sit there seeing them ramming each other's tongues down each other's throats, and then running off to the bedroom and having a graphic sex scene. It's so mind blowing to me that people get worked up over something like that. When this, the show had
I'm
other
being told to assure you both that straight white women are not included in the LGBT alphabet army.
well, you know what? She can deny it all she wants.
You can deny it. That's awesome. Oh man.
You know what they say. People who deny the existence of robots are probably robots.
So what? Let's get back to the show, shall we? What was? I know that for me, I thought it was what I liked honestly about the whole thing was that we got to see briefly a little bit of more of her backstory. Because I guess I was always a little bit unclear as to who the characters were and some of the backstory elements. So
Yeah,
finding out that like, oh no, the Salem Seven are the daughters of Agatha's old coven,
yeah.
who are now locked into this. So like they're locked into their forever revenge against Agatha. That seems like a pretty lonely existence. But I mean,
And I don't know how accurate that is to comic book lore,
yeah,
but
either.
it's um, and but uh,
All right. Marnan says, I don't like how Agatha's sexualized now. She used to be like a grandma. I don't like how she's not as good a person as she used to be either. Okay. That's fair. Only reason I think that's fair is because she's absolutely right. The character we know about is the one that you and I talked about, Salty, where she's got gray hair, but she's wearing like that white blouse and basically the evil Mary Poppins look. And so now, and even in the comics now, Agatha looks more like a Mortal Kombat character. Like she's got black hair with white like streaks on the sides.
right.
She wears a superhero like outfit that's all skin tight, and you're like, well, wait a minute, what? It's
Well,
very strange the direction they've gone with her.
I have said when WandaVision first started that I was not a fan of such a young Wanda or a young Agatha. Because Agatha to me has always been an elderly character. Now I understand that there are differing interpretations, we'll say, of various characters.
Sure.
But if I can share an image with you real quick, uh, you can add that if you're. Do you see it?
Yes, I do. Give me 1 second.
All right.
I'll pop it right there behind everything else. It should be good. Bing. What? Turn that kid off.
You need it now.
Whatever, man. I'm a professional.
So that is Agatha from my memory.
Agreed. Same.
Yeah. So, and by the way, the long face has always been a very, particular part of it. The hairdo. But now, the only thing she has in common really with this Agatha is the pendant,
Yeah.
you know. And by the way, if I can switch it, this is the Salem 7. That looks nothing like what we're getting in.
What are you talking about? It's verbatim. Look, hat
Yeah.
and all.
Three of them are men.
It's the Salem 7. Are you sure those are not just very masculine looking women? I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm totally kidding. It looks great though. It's a good picture.
Yeah, but yeah, that's actually from an issue of Fantastic Four that I have, and where the Fantastic Four fight them because they kidnapped Agatha.
Oh, okay.
And so, and you can see like the fish-looking dude on the opposite the snake lady. Notice how he has like a nozzle for one hand. It's because he shoots water. So, guess what he does to the Human Torch? It's,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's some classic comic book stuff right there, man.
Right. And then, the dude behind the fish-looking dude with the horns is just super duper strong, so he likes to go toe to toe with the thing. The girl with snakes, perfect matchup against Mr. Fantastic.
Of course, why not? That
Yeah.
makes sense.
And so yeah, but they, these guys are a very comic book threatening villain team. What we see in the show looks like an evil coven.
Yeah, agreed.
So you can put the show picture back up if you want. I just wanted to get that there so we can see what Agatha and the Salem 7 look like in the
Oh,
comic.
very cool.
And so this Agatha obviously is at least 40 years younger than
A lot. Yeah.
than the Agatha that we see in the comics. But what I'm okay with is the idea. In fact, the funny thing is the lady that's directly behind the kid looks more like Agatha.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, actually.
Yeah. But this Agatha could be a younger version of that character if they redeem her.
I'm thinking that may be where they're going with that.
Right. And that's what, to me,
At least I'd like to see that. I think there'd be something interesting there.
well, and the funny thing is, that would give her albeit probably fairly small, but a role in every Fantastic Four movie and stuff moving forward, because she is Franklin's nanny. And so, which makes perfect sense. Because having a nanny, because she is a mother, she is also very powerful, so she could defend the kids.
No, very true. Yeah, no, she really is.
And so, yeah, it would make sense for them to hire someone like that to defend their children when they're off saving the universe from Galactus and stuff. And Thomas thinks they look horrible in the comics. I thought the Salem 7 were cool. But granted, I was a kid when I first read that.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, see, that's how things were. Now we're trying to make things fit better. I kind of dig what we're doing nowadays, to be honest. We're taking things that were parts that were all over the place and sort of making them more structured in a way that I actually think I kind of dig.
What do you mean?
I just dig it.
All right. By the way, that comic book that I showed you is from 1977.
Oof. There you go.
So the Salem 7 go back a ways.
No, for sure. For sure. So turns out halfway through this thing that the actual quote unquote trial that they're under in the houses and on the road is actually, it looks like it's much more geared toward Agatha this week, though some people might argue it was more geared toward teen. And I'm of the mind it was geared toward Agatha because at the end of the day, she's the one who she deals with her mom possessing her, which I thought was interesting. And then she deals with, right on the heels of her mom possessing her, Alice tries to save her from her mom possessing her. And then I believe Agatha can't control this ability. I think she relishes in it when it happens, but I believe she's
Right.
like,
That was Yeah, that was interesting because now everybody mistrusts Agatha for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And yet, you could, and when Agatha said, I can't control it, she looked like she was absolutely serious.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's like, I'm wondering if that's true, if she genuinely cannot control the, her ability to absorb,
Right.
then basically you just have to avoid attacking her directly.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how I took it. That's exactly how I took it. I think if that's the
Yeah.
case, then that's at least that gives you something. But then again, how do you help? Like for instance, in this instance, Alice was trying to help her. Alice
Right.
was, and it went bad, and now Alice is no longer.
Well, she's dead now. By the way,
Yeah.
the names of the Salem Seven.
Sure.
One of them is off the screen here, but the ones that are here are Vertigo, Bruticus, Hydron, Vacuum, Reptila, and Gazelle.
Wow. I don't
And I
know.
remember, so Vacuum, the guy in the back, he has the ability. He basically can create vortexes of air, and so like little mini tornadoes.
Okay.
Um, and so he, like Hydron, is a good matchup against the Human Torch because he can suck the air away, making fire an impossibility.
Right.
Gazelle is just very, very agile.
I kind of figured
Yeah, Hydron is shoots water. Bruticus
from
is
his water cannon
yeah, Bruticus is very, very strong. The yellow guy with the thorns on him, he shoots those thorns and they explode on
as
impact.
one does, of
Yes.
course.
And then, but I don't remember what they call him, like Thorny Dude or whatever. And
Thornicus,
yeah, Thornicus, yeah. And Vertigo, her ability is to make you dizzy,
of course, because why
which
not?
so you lose all sense of orientation and stuff when she uses her power on you.
Right on.
But I think
Very cool.
the Salem Seven we're going to get in this are just witches.
Agreed. But I don't know. They seem to have specialty-ish type behaviors. One
Well,
had the
all we've seen them
bugs.
do is like go, we don't really know.
Wow,
Hey, I did that pretty good, huh?
that was very good.
Yeah, thank you. I've been practicing. Halloween's coming up.
Oh, totally.
By the way, I have an insane Halloween decoration. I'm waiting for it to be delivered. I ordered it forever ago. That I'm going to be putting in front of my house. You ready for this?
Sure.
You know those posable life-size skeletons you can get?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got one of those. And so, basically dead guy, right? But it's one that actually has a stand, so he can be standing up. And so I'm going to have him in the front yard basically doing, kind of thing, right?
Sure.
And then I got him an original series red shirt.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So I have a red shirt in the process of decomposing in my front yard.
That's great. That's gonna be brilliant. I love it. Make sure you get a picture, please.
Yes.
I absolutely love to put that on
Well, what
there.
I was thinking of is that after Halloween, I'll have him sitting in the chair next to me and be my co-host.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yes, but yes, Thomas, all the lame superpowers.
Hey, super strength is not lame.
Super strength is what key things. If you stop to think about it, everybody technically should have super strength because your body can now withstand high speeds, energy, whatever. So like your body would have to suddenly be more resilient immediately.
Well, did you ever play Champions?
That sounds real familiar.
Yeah, it was a tabletop RPG, kind of like D&D, but for superheroes.
Yep.
And I really like the way you built a character because you would get a budget of points, usually around 50 to 100 points, depending on the game. And you could spend those points on various abilities, right? Like making yourself more durable, giving yourself flight, whatever. Then you could add more powers as you saw fit. But in order to spend the points on those powers, then you had to spend negative points on disadvantages.
That's smart.
Yeah. So, for example, you were doing the Human Torch, you would say, oh, he can shoot flame that can burn through anything. That's a high cost power, right? However, His power does not work if he is underwater or wet.
Okay.
So that's a disadvantage you would buy for his power.
Right.
And so, anyway, but yeah, so I made a character in Champions called the Blast. He was kind of based loosely on the Human
The
Torch.
blast.
Yeah, and Blast had like this super powerful blast of fire that he could use, but in order to afford the power, I had to give him major. So obviously, there's power doesn't work when he's wet, power doesn't work when he's underwater, but that wasn't quite enough. So I also had to give him a phobia. So he's deathly afraid of water.
Wow.
And then within that phobia, you select how often does the phobia become an issue in a story. And so it can be uncommon, common, or constant, And so I had to select constant in order to be able to buy his powers up. And so basically every time there was a mission, it started raining. And so he wouldn't go outside, because he's,
So funny.
yeah. But anyway, I don't know why I started that tangent.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
But yeah, so Agatha, I want to see her redeemed by the end of this. I truly, truly, truly do. But we only got like 3 weeks left, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. So, all right, the next thing we're gonna look at is the next episode of Penguin, specifically episode 4, wasn't it? Yeah.
I thought it was episode 3.
Maybe it was episode 3. Was it episode 1, 2, 3? Golly, you're right. I'm getting lost in the timing because somehow we got off that far away from Agatha, which is crazy to me. So this episode was actually, I call it a filler episode, but for those of you who play at home, the truth is it wasn't a filler episode in the negative connotation. A good filler episode will give you more character context. It helps you with stuff going forward.
Right.
And this gave us the backstory of Vic. Specifically, we get to see what happens when right from the Batman, when all of the bombs went off. And we get to see this part of the town where his family was living and where ultimately they died.
Which, by the way, and this is a big credit to the production team of the Penguin. It is impossible to tell specifically without like going back and looking which shots were lifted from the Batman and which shots were originally produced for this episode.
Yeah, it did really good.
And so, because obviously there are some shots that were produced for this episode, like when the kid's apartment building was taken out by the flood.
Right.
But it was so seamless with the stuff from Batman, and the explosions were done from multiple angles, some of which we clearly did not see in the Batman.
Right.
And so it was, to me, this is how a adaptation of something that comes from a movie should be done.
I agree. Yeah.
Indistinguishable from the film.
Yeah, it does a really good job. Like the one thing we've been talking about for some other things is that whole idea between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
So Penguin takes us right from the Batman, but it's still even when it shows us the flashback, we get to see elements that we recognize. So it all fits really well into that world.
Right.
It didn't require a lot of there's not a lot of suspension of disbelief. I believe everything happening here is in that same movie world from the Batman.
Right.
They done
the craziest thing about it is actually what the Riddler did. That's the craziest thing about this series is something that didn't even happen in the series.
Agreed.
And so, but I do like that there are references to the Riddler, but they don't use it as a name drop gotcha kind of thing
Right.
like they do in so many shows. It's because the Riddler literally just destroyed the city.
Right.
And so every now and then, he's got to mention, hey, you want to know why this happened? Ask the Riddler, that kind of thing, But
That was awesome.
yeah,
That was
thank
good.
you. I'm working on that too.
Yeah, that was good.
I actually, I got to say, I want Penguin to fail because I see that he's evil.
Sure.
But I could see why you might find him a likable guy.
I want to see him do something so that when he becomes the Penguin when he encounters the Batman, that I want to just feel like that was earned when it finally happens.
Right.
And they're doing a good job so far. I really do. But I want there to be some conflict there. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Well, think about it. he already gets some bragging rights because he did survive a toe-to-toe encounter with
He
Batman.
did. No, he did. You're right. Absolutely right.
And that was actually a pretty cool car chase. Like when he's like, "Yeah, I got him," and then the Batmobile jumps through the flames. He's like, "Oh crap!"
Like, yeah, man.
That was a great scene.
You're right. Big. He does some bragging rights for sure.
Yeah, but this show is like when he's sitting there talking about, oh, I want to have all this stuff, and who would imagine a guy like me could have all this stuff, and that was actually very compelling. And
Yeah, I love because he's like, you want me to apologize for what I got? No, I'm not going to apologize for you.
Right.
I'm here. Was it worth it? No, but do I see the cost?
No, he said it was worth it,
Right.
but he was sorry that he had to do it.
Yeah.
That he basically screwed over Sophia.
Yeah.
And of course, my favorite old lady that loves to cuss was front and center a little bit in this episode. I can never pronounce her name, but the old French lady from The Expanse and from Star Trek Beyond.
Oh yeah, I love her.
She talks like this.
I
And the funny thing is, before The Expanse, she always played very dignified characters. And then The Expanse, she starts saying the F word all the time. And she said how liberating that was. She just loved it. And so now she takes this role so she can do it some more.
For real. No, she does. She does good. My whole thing is, what are they going to do now? By that I mean, so the story and I said it in my own review. Funny enough, the more compelling story this week was the one with Vic. Like I was really into that. I was into that storyline. I felt like the stuff we saw with Oz and Sophia was kind of incidental, and so when you get to the end part where we're now faced with. The kid has his liberating moment of realizing that what he wants, but then when he goes to and he rescues Oz, so to speak, and Oz, he's like, "What about Sophia?" And Oz is like, "Forget about her, leave her." And I'm like, "Dude,
That was brutal.
why haven't you? Are you not?" But my whole thing is, I'm sitting here going, "Aren't you thinking? This is a spur of the moment. This is a thing. Like you got to think beyond this."
So my wife and I talked about that specifically because, well, on the one hand, that was brutal. On the other hand, you do have to stop and consider the fact that as they were speeding off, you heard gunshots.
True, that's true.
So he only took down one of them. So there was still the French lady with the bad smoking habit and and at least one other henchman that were there.
Yeah, it's true.
And so when he said leave her, I think that was just a self-preservation moment for him.
Yeah, but it's not exactly on the heels of her asking, "How do I trust you?" You know what I'm saying? How do I learn to trust you? And it's like, well, not like this, apparently, because this is not the way to do it.
And I still, if you bring up that picture that I just brought, I still can't get over this.
The whole him.
Yeah, I mean these two pictures are the same guy. It's like.
Yeah, it's kind of unbelievable.
That makeup is ridiculous. Now, my wife pointed out there were a couple of times when you could see Colin Farrell's psycho eyes through all that makeup.
Sure.
But where he gave like a glance or a look or something that was extremely Colin Farrell. But man, they need to get all the awards for the makeup. I mean, dang.
Yeah, they really are doing pretty incredible.
Yeah.
These guys are good, man. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Vic, I think this episode. If I were to title this episode, it would be "The Fall of Vic."
Okay.
Because at the end of this episode, when you see Vic with the blood on his face and driving off, it's like, okay, Vic is a bad guy now.
Yeah, he's officially crossed the line.
Yeah. He is now straight up Penguin's henchman.
Henchman. It's a true story. The birth of a henchman.
He's a Batman villain, so he's a henchman.
No, for real. I get you.
You're either an arch villain or a henchman in Batman. That's the only two positions available.
The only two positions.
But he is a high-ranking henchman, because he's Penguin's number one.
That's right, because you have to be Penguin.
And so, so I think that he's like, what's his name from the Tim Burton Batman with the Joker?
Oh, totally.
Bob, you are my number one.
I love that so much. It took me forever to realize that when I finally, I did not from the day I saw it realize he was doing a Jack Palance impression.
Really, you didn't get that?
I mean, I thought he was just being sort of real eccentric, and then it wasn't until years later that I was like, "Oh my god, he's doing an impression of Jack Palance!" Like, I felt so at the time. I was like, "Oh my god, why did?" Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, so Vic is now officially Oz. I know, and that's a weird thing though. They call him Oz Cobb instead.
Which is weird.
Yeah, which I don't get that. Just call him Oswald Cobblepot. That is his name. But whatever. He's not like the Joker where you don't really know his name. But Oz is now. He's starting to make his move, and in fact, if Sophia goes down, this could be it for him taking over. Depending on if Sophia ends up dead.
Okay.
And Miss Moneypenny's taking off. You have a good one, ma'am.
You think she's gonna end up dead for real?
I don't think she's dead yet. I mean, because I don't know. Is the Hangman a real character from the comics? I don't know.
That's the other thing I didn't catch either.
Let's see. Well, I guess so. There's a picture of a rather scary-looking woman behind bars when they did the switch for the Hangman, and it does say Sophia Falcone. So
There you go. See, you learn something new every day. Let's go.
Whoa.
What happened?
What do you mean? What happened?
You said whoa.
Yeah, because you said whoa.
Whoa.
And so,
Bye, Penny.
man,
Thomas points out Agatha felt very short this week. It was, but at the same time, and it's funny because Mrs. Noel and I had that conversation. Yes, it was short, but I felt like even though it was, because it was 25 minutes to the moment they started the credits. And my thing is, we had something similar in The Acolyte, which is a 25-minute episode. And I remember thinking to myself, at least Agatha felt like it used its 25 minutes very well. It told us a very good story.
I'm not a fan of the Disney. It seems like Disney wants to make episodes between a half an hour to 40 minutes.
Right.
And I don't like that.
I agree.
I think that they should, like the thing that I really like about the Penguin is I feel like I'm getting a mini movie every week.
Agreed. Because that's because it's being produced by HBO, not Max or DC. So that's the HBO is taking it on as a prestige show, and they're putting all the prestige show money behind it. So,
but and who doesn't want to see this version of Catwoman on screen?
Is that the one from the?
It's from the comics, but I mean, look at that. That is so over the top with the
everything?
With the accoutrements.
Accoutrements. I love that. I love the accoutrements. That's good for you, sir.
I mean, Luke Skywalker could get some blue milk out of that. That's.
You're done, sir. You're done. Oh my god, it's hilarious.
But anyway, with Agatha, yes, they're using their half an hour effectively for the most part. But I would rather these episodes be in the 45-minute to 50-minute category because I think that, like, they could have fleshed out the thing with Agatha and her mom a little better if they had a little more time to breathe.
Yeah, this was definitely not of high. Like the effects this week were not through the roof. Ghost Mom looked weird. It looked very like boogity boogity from early '80s Disney. You know what I mean? Like where it was like What are these effects? What's going on here? Like, it just felt very on a set this week.
Is boogity boogity a technical term? Just want to make sure I
Mr.
understand.
Boogedy was a movie that Disney put out in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Dead serious. It's about this guy who is he's a pilgrim who gets something cursed during something or other, and he becomes Mr. Boogedy. And he literally shoots out black lightning and goes boogity boogity. Oh yeah, it's the things. It's hilarious. It goes back.
Sounds like,
Dead serious.
yeah, sounds horrible.
It was. It was crazy. You never saw Mr. Boogedy?
No, that's funny. Disney. I very little Disney content as a kid. I mean, like I watched some of the standards, like Herbie the Love Bug,
Fair
uh,
enough.
and I
I
don't
love
think
me some Herbie the Love Bug.
I don't remember if I saw the Apple Dumpling Gang. I was trying to remember if
The apples
you know,
dumpling
yeah,
gang.
there used to be, as probably before a little bit, but there used to be a Sunday night program on ABC called The Wonderful World of Disney,
I remember
and
this.
they would show Disney movies, but they would not show the classic Disney movies
No, of course not.
as much as the crappy live action Disney movies.
Yeah.
Um, so like the best you would get would be like a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang kind of thing.
Chitty chitty bang bang. Are the original Flubber?
Yeah, stuff like that. But then you would get a lot of the Apple Dumpling Gang, and then the Apple Dumpling Gang rides again. And then for Halloween, you would get Escape from Witch Mountain,
Oh, I love Escape from Witch
and
Mountain.
then Return to Witch Mountain. And then
They never gave The Rock Return. They only gave him Escape too.
yeah, they had That Darn Cat.
What about
The
what
Cat from Outer Space was
the
another
Shaggy
classic.
Dog?
The Shaggy DA. The Shaggy DA, yes.
The Shaggy DA. That's awesome.
Um, and Thomas says Disney's going bankrupt over that movie. Disney's been bankrupt for 20 years. You didn't know that, Thomas?
Apparently.
Just ask Nerdrotic. He'll tell you. By the way, Kathleen Kennedy's been fired.
A million
Breaking
times.
news right here. Um,
You heard it here first.
well, first today,
Yeah.
you know, so I'm sure it'll be on some other channel later today. Uh, so was it this week they dropped the trailer for Lower Decks? The new trailer. Did you see it?
No. There was a
Wow.
new trailer for Lower Decks.
I'm pretty sure it was new. It was the first time I saw it. Um,
Oh shoot, man.
yeah, Lower Decks season 5 trailer. Yeah, it was released 2 days ago,
What?
and yes, it had a. By the way, Ensign Kim is back. Although I got
Okay,
to,
I did see the end of that.
yeah, and with where there's like Kims from all over the multiverse, and only one of them is a lieutenant,
Yep.
and the rest are like, "You have two pips." I said, now I've said this many times on this live stream, that Garrett Wang should come back and play Ensign Kim, but still be an ensign.
I hate you so much.
You know,
Hilarious.
so
That's
so
one of the greatest. That'd be one of the greatest callback jokes ever, right there. It really would be. It'd be super
yeah.
funny.
I do like the fact that the Lower Decks trailer said 5 seasons in the making. It's like, yeah, because this is season 5.
That's right.
And I also like the fact that they do the Enterprise decon gel. Um, that was and
That's awesome.
what's his name? The first officer just starts slathering it on.
Right,
So,
Greg?
huh?
Oh, well, no, you're talking about First Officer on Lower Decks.
Yeah,
Ransom. Ransom.
Ransom. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Anyway, it looks like it's gonna be fun.
Played by Jerry O'Connell.
And that's just that. The Lower Decks premieres what, October 24th? I want to say.
Yes. I
So
know. I can't believe it. It's like
so
really.
that's just 12 days from today.
It's like let's go.
So you better warm up your Star Trek outfit for that one.
Something.
Um,
I'm ready. I will be ready for it.
yeah. And yeah, Thomas, they copied the trailer for Star Trek Six for the first one, which I did actually really like that too. Because man, I remember that Star Trek Six trailer
So
like
do
gave
I.
me goosebumps.
So do I.
Right.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
one final adventure with the crew of the USS Enterprise. Yeah.
Yeah, that was dude. That was what's his face who was playing the general in the actual movie.
It was him, Christopher
Yeah.
Plummer,
Huh?
or not Christopher? Yeah, Christopher Plummer.
Yes, he voiced that commercial.
I don't remember that. It's
That's
been a
him.
long
That's
time
his.
since I've
That's his
watched.
Britishy voice. That's his real life British voice.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what? I'm just trying to replay it in my head,
In
and
my
I kind
head.
of hear that now. Yeah, I never put two and two together though.
I love him. I love him. I love the fact they did that. That was great. That trailer was the first thing I ever saw regarding Star Trek, and it sucked me in.
Really, that's the first thing you ever saw.
So when I was not. Well, I mean, I'm sure I saw episodes as a kid, things that passed my, but nothing I didn't pay attention to until one day I'm in the mall. These guys are dressed up. They come out this and thing, and they show me this trailer for this movie. They invite me out to the fan club. They're all going to see this movie, and then they're going to the club. So I was like, "Did you want to come with us to see the movie? We have an extra ticket." And I was like, "Yeah." And so we did. We went to go see because it looked super cool. Right from there, I went to the meeting, and at the meeting they used to play Star Trek: The Next Generation episodes a week early because he had a satellite dish that would catch the feed that was going to the network.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So what you're saying is that you watch Star Trek because of peer pressure.
what are you talking about?
It was the
Watch
kid.
Star Trek
Come
because
on,
it
man.
was showing about this amazing trailer that
Sounds
made
like
me
you should have walked up with a trench coat. Say, hey man, we got
I got
Trek.
some Star Trek right here for
Yeah.
you.
It's the good stuff, man. It's a
That's right. No, for sure. But yeah, no, it was yeah, but it was that movie. That was the first time I ever, and then I ended up getting the Sam's Club box set of VHSs, the ones that made the picture of the ship out of all their boxes.
oh for the movies.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got
I
those.
had those. And then of course the problem was the box set was the first five films, and
Right.
so then you had to get Star Trek Six, and the picture that they formed of the Enterprise was lopsided
Because
because
that would have all this extra space.
yeah, because even though the Star Trek Six box matched up, it wasn't. It just pushed everything over. You know, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like Star Trek Six should have had two boxes, one for the movie and one for like behind the scenes stuff, so that it could still be symmetrical.
That's hilarious. Put this on the other side.
Yeah, but no, they didn't do that because they were jerks.
Yeah, that's exactly why it didn't happen.
Yeah,
Jeez. This guy.
they are jerks. Everybody, it's like, come on, Disney's evil, Paramount's evil, everybody's evil, because it's all about the woke agenda, right?
I mean, that's what I keep being told. I'm
Oh,
sure.
you know what's funny? So, one of my subscribers sent me these neat little window decals that are the Starfleet logo, and it says around
Oh, nice.
it says Starfleet Command on it, right? So
Yeah.
I put them on my car. So I have two of them, one on each side of the car, so that if you approach the car from either side, it has the
You are
Starfleet
fully
logo.
aware.
Yeah, that has Starfleet logo. And if you see my license plate, I have a license plate frame that says "Property of Starfleet Command."
Nice.
And so I try to make it look like it's an official Starfleet vehicle. And so here's the funny thing. Star Trek prejudice here. So this guy gets in my car yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, I saw the Star Trek logo on your car." And it's like, "Yeah, you like that?" He goes, "Yeah." So I guess you don't like the Orange Man, huh?
What?
Because diversity.
Oh my God.
And so
This. That's
so
I don't know, man. They always had places for hairy mud. That's all I'm saying.
which I thought was hilarious. And then I had another guy. Now, okay, I live in Tennessee,
Of course.
and not everybody in Tennessee is well educated, and
You
so
don't say there's ignorant people everywhere. Stop it.
yeah, no, I had to drive for a half an hour just to get to this guy's house, and there wasn't another house within like 5 minutes of his house, you know. And by the way, so he paid $25 for an Uber so that I could go to his house, pick him up, drive him 5 miles to a gas station. He could pick up a couple of groceries and then drive him back to his house
Wow.
because he doesn't have a car.
Got it.
So every time he goes to the store or goes anywhere other than his house, he needs to call an Uber. But, whatever. So he comes up and sees the stickers. He gets in the car. And I swear, he sounds and looks like Dale from King of the Hill.
Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead.
All right. And he's like, so I see you got the Space Force logo on your car. Pretty cool. And so I'm like thinking, okay, I got to kind of redirect this guy. And so I say, well, I'm an old school Trekkie. Right? And he goes, what? You used to drive trucks? I was like,
Yes.
oh, so yeah, that was an interesting conversation.
Sounds like it. Sounds like a good time.
So I had Dale's dead bug in the back of my car.
Wow. It's rough. I'm kidding.
So,
Oh, right on, man.
so anything else going on this week?
Not a whole lot. I know we have I know we're waiting for next week. Next week's gonna be Lower Decks.
No, not next week. Week after.
Week after, sorry. Why does it feel like October has so many weeks? It's like so many weeks, October.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Same amount of weeks October always has.
Well, it feels like it's longer for some reason right now, sir. No,
October, yeah, there's 5, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 5 Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays in October. Everything else there's 4 of.
That's why. That's exactly why.
Yes. But the 24th, where Lower Decks premieres, is a week from Thursday. Today's the 12th, so this coming Thursday is the 17th, and then the 24th.
Fair enough. There you go.
And then I become a cyborg on the 25th.
Yay, Cyborg.
Yeah. And so if we start out the live stream and I just start, everything I say is, yes, this was great. You will become one with the Borg.
Nice. You will all become one with the.
Yes. I feel like we should all become a collective,
October has 8 days in the week. That's why it seems longer.
That makes sense.
Thanks, Creep.
So yeah, because you have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, extra day.
It's that extra day that throws me off every time.
Yeah. So
Can we not do that, please?
yeah, unfortunately, extra day only lasts for about an eighth of a second in between Saturday and Sunday.
That long eighth of a second, a lot can happen. It's like the Nexus. You go into it, suddenly you're there, baby. You're in.
Well, that's why the Nexus was the end of the Prime timeline.
Oh, okay. I see.
Once you're in, it's over.
Because everything comes back to the timeline theory.
Yes, everything is. No, I've been debating whether or not the Nexus would be the end of the Prime timeline, or sorry, the Alpha timeline, or All Good Things. Because All Good Things was such a perfect ending to TNG.
It was actually a pretty good ending.
And I don't even like to acknowledge that it's that Generations and All Good Things are in the same timeline. But Generations is the last time we see the original Enterprise D.
Okay.
It's also, if I remember correctly, outside of a couple of shots in the Dominion War, I think it's the last time we see both Galaxy class and Excelsior class.
Right.
Because as of Deep Space Nine, we start seeing a lot of different types of starships that we never saw in TNG or TOS.
Interesting.
So,
All right.
we start seeing things like the Akira class and the Steam Runner class, and of course the Defiant class, and all these much tougher ships. So, but yes, Thomas, this is all for you, buddy. This is the Wall of Thomas. So in fact, we're gonna put a big. We're just gonna put the name Thomas. We need to come up with an acronym
We
for
do.
Thomas that spells out the multiple timeline thing.
That's hilarious. Oh, yes, we absolutely do.
Yes. So Creep wants a movie about how Worf got the Enterprise E destroyed. You know what? No.
Yeah, I don't know that I need that.
And honestly, I think they kind of ruined Worf in Picard season 3. I know you love Picard season 3 because you're an idiot, but I think they ruined Worf in Picard season 3, uh, along with they also ruined Riker in Picard season 3.
Oh my
But
god.
but Worf,
Did they not ruin anything?
well, they ruined phasers.
Okay, that's not the question I asked. Is there anything they didn't ruin?
Well, Picard had already been ruined.
So you answer the question. Is anything not
Okay. Well,
ruined?
I was going to say the Enterprise D because it's so beautiful in that one shot, but then they turn it into a freaking X-wing fighter, so they ruined the Enterprise D.
X-wing fighter. I love it.
Oh, come on! It literally flies into a cubic Death Star. I mean, it's like that was the dumbest thing. Oh, it's dumb.
I thought it looked cool. Whatever.
You thought seeing the Enterprise D flying around like a freaking airplane was cool.
Yeah, I thought so. Why not? Why not? Come on, why not? Whatever, man. Why not? If you can't give me the why not,
Because it's a freaking those ships of that size should not be zipping around like bugs in your room.
why not? Because you can't get past a preference. It is a preferential thing. Your objection is preferential, and that is fine. But not everyone has to share
It's
that
not
preference.
just preference; it's physics.
Yeah.
It makes no sense that the Enterprise would be like it literally flew around. It was more nimble than any other ship we've ever seen in Star Trek.
That's true.
And Creep, don't give me
Go
Data
ahead,
was a
keep going.
badass pilot because Sulu was a badass pilot, and yet the original Enterprise couldn't do anything even remotely like that. And Geordi himself was talking about how the older starships, because they were smaller, were more maneuverable and could run circles around ships like a Galaxy class ship at sublight speeds. And if you don't believe me, rewatch the episode Relics, where because
I
Scotty
may
was,
very well have to do that.
yes, because Scotty is talking about how old and outdated he feels, just like his ship. And then Geordi points out that his ship could run rings around the Enterprise at sublight.
Okay. So is that prime timeline? What's going on?
Yes, it is because it's TNG. That's
Sorry, man.
in,
Prime timeline can't fight it. Sorry, guys.
yeah. So the fact that the Enterprise is more maneuverable than anything else ever in the history of Trek is a big problem.
I think Jordy just made a kick butt vehicle.
You see, and the thing is, you can't even say that with a straight face. You know how full of crap you are.
Whatever. I think it was cool, and now it's canon. So whatever. I'm down. I'm taking it. I'm taking it and running. I'm one of those people who's like, I got it. You can't have it back. I'm taking it.
See, that's why Picard is definitely in its own timeline called the BS timeline.
Called the fan timeline.
Yeah, the fan film.
Just nothing but the fan people who are like, that's what I want. I want to see this. That's all I want.
You see, that's to me, that's bad writing.
Oh yeah, totally.
And so, unfortunately, with Picard, I get it. Picard was glossed over by a ton of member berries, but honestly, I don't. I think that if you try to critically look at Picard, the story was really lame.
Agreed.
TNG went to DS9. Voyager left from DS9. 7 mentioned First Contact, so they're prime line. timeline. Except that you're forgetting that certain things can happen in multiple timelines, right? And seven even mentions how the Borg were there, right? But that means that seven is in an altered timeline. Because if the Borg were present at first contact, that means it's not the prime timeline. Capiche? We also, and I'm trying to remember, when was the first time that the dates for World War III got messed up? Do you remember?
That would be Voyager. Wait, was it Deep Space Nine first, or was it Voyager first? Because I thought Voyager was the first one that went back to like 1997, and we're
Mhm.
like, well, this is weird. This is not supposed to be how this is. But then they were also Deep Space Nine was there during the Bell riots, which I don't know where the Bell riots fit in
The
relation.
Bell Rights are supposed to be this year.
No, I know, but I don't know where that fits in relation to the original timeline of events. Like when World War III was supposed to have happened. So would that have been the first time people should have noticed things were off? Was the Bell riots?
Well, that's what I'm trying to see. Uh, because obviously, so in the original series, Spock mentions that World War III took place in the mid 1990s, right? In Strange New Worlds, they they talk about the conflict that started sometime around now and eventually escalates into World War III.
God.
Uh, what?
So okay, so technically, but when I thought the original World War III was supposed to be in the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. In the original series, Spock said it was in the 1990s. In Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, Khan specifically says that the Botany Bay launched in 1996.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Um, but
So
I'm trying to see.
remind me to talk to you about our side project later because I want that point of clarity. I
Yeah.
need a point of order. Go ahead.
But let's see. And I'm trying to see if there's anybody that has the actual dates. Because, of course, in Star Trek First Contact, when they arrive in, what's the year, like 20. Oh, gosh. Do you remember what year they arrive on Earth? Uh, date of first contact in Star Trek. April 5th, 2063. So it was 2063 when they arrive in Star Trek First Contact, and Data says something to the effect that it's been about 10 years since the end of World War III, which means First Contact could not be in the prime timeline.
So when did we have our first contact in the prime timeline?
So in the prime timeline, they never talk about First Contact. They talk about Zephyr Cochrane developing warp drive. Um, and I'm trying to remember because I actually worked out the dates, and that's some more stuff I'll have to do for this. Because Dr. McCoy actually talks about how long ago Zephyr Cochrane went missing, and so you can actually figure out some of the stuff from him.
Okay. I'm following your math. It's just I'm having a really. It's I got it. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right. So, um, but I'm trying to figure out when was World War III according to each series.
So yeah, wouldn't that? Hold on.
Let's see.
It says, according to Star Trek lore, World War III took place sometime in the mid 21st century, specifically around the year 2049 to 2053.
Right. But in the original series, it took place in 1996.
Right. So
But that did they ever mention World War III
got it.
directly in Star Trek: The Next Generation?
I thought they did.
Like, even like in the first episode, they were in the post-atomic horror.
What about that one where they found those refugee people? Remember the rich people who'd been put in cryostasis or whatever?
Mhm.
Don't they mention to them? Don't they mention something along the lines of after World War? Don't they mention World War III in that episode?
I don't remember if they did. Uh,
That was the one where the guy learns that there's no more money.
yeah,
There's no.
I absolutely know the episode you're talking about. That's the neutral zone is the episode. Let's see. And let's see. All right. So if we look at, I'm bringing up some scripts here. So Encounter at Farpoint. Let's see. Yeah. So in the courtroom in Star Trek: The Next Generation, we hear Data says historically. This is when they're looking around seeing Q's
Sure.
courtroom. Data says, historically intriguing, Captain, very, very accurate. Picard says, mid 21st century, the post atomic horror. So that could still be World War III happened in 1996. And this is just 50 years later.
Got it.
He doesn't say, oh, this is immediately. And in fact, right, okay, so here. Data, when arguing with the judge, Q, he says, objection, Your Honor. In the year 2036, the new United Nations in 2036, which means that the war was over and mankind was rebuilding by 2036.
Right.
But it says, the new United Nations declared that no Earth citizen could be made to answer for the crimes of his race or forebears, to which Q said, objection denied. This is the court of the year 2079, by which time more rapid progress had caused all United Earth nonsense to be abolished. But in 2036, there was a new United Nations, which would imply that was them attempting to rebuild after the atomic wars that Khan caused. So that's from Encounter at Farpoint, or as it's more properly called, Farpoint and Encounter, which is an inside joke that you don't get. Let's see. Let's see. So, yeah, so as far as the people in the episode, The Neutral Zone, they were talking about how they were all frozen, and Crusher says cryonics. It was kind of a fad in the late 20th century. So they were all from before the end of the 20th century.
Got it.
And
Okay.
keep in mind, the Star Trek: The Next Generation came out in actually the late 80s, if I remember correctly. It's when it, like in 86, 87 is when it first premiered. So it was still the future from the point of the writers, you know.
It's true.
Um, and let's see. Welcome to the 24th century. Let's see. Yeah, actually, the process of cryonics was never more than a fad and did not continue much beyond the mid 21st century. But these guys were from the 20th century. Let's see. It was what was the QE2? It was passenger liner Earth's Atlantic Ocean in the 20th and 21st centuries. So at least we know the Queen Elizabeth II was not destroyed in the war. This is the 24th century. Material needs no longer exist. BS. That's some crap right there. You know, and my whole theory on Picard is I think Picard is like trying to put it nicely here. You could compare Picard to a leftist hardcore liberal, right? But because Picard genuinely believes that there's no need for material want, there's no need for wealth, and all that, while he personally owns a vineyard in France.
That's been handed down to him. It's not like he's purposely like.
I'm not, yeah, I know it's generational wealth, but he thinks and this is a problem. Like, I had an argument with a liberal professor of mine a long time ago when they were proposing a new tax in the city I lived in, Portland, Oregon at the time. And I was talking about how this tax would be very difficult for working families. And his response was, the tax is only going to be like $50 a month. Anybody can afford that. And I looked at him and I was like, you do realize that for some people, they are living to the penny.
Yeah.
And so taking away $50 of that is taking away grocery money or prescriptions or, whatever. And so you can't just say everybody can afford that. But
Agreed.
if we're living in this bubble, and I think Picard is this kind of a person, you just think, yeah, nobody cares about material wealth anymore. Just like listen to any political debate, where the Republican is like, oh, everybody wants abortion to be outlawed, and the Democrat is everybody wants abortion to be legal. Like they really believe this. They really don't see the fact that the country is split right down the middle on it. And I'm not trying to take a side on that issue. I'm not turning this into an argument about abortion.
No, I got you.
Yeah, but everybody is. We have this bias that we all do it,
Of course.
where we think that because the circle of friends we have all agree with me, that must mean everybody agrees with me. And it would be even more reinforced if you're a political figure.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And so I think that's Picard right there in a nutshell. Picard is an incredibly wealthy man who has, because the vineyard's been in his family for centuries. And so he has never known what it's like to be anything but filthy rich. It would be like growing up in Mar-a-Lago.
Rough. You know that. That's a rough one. I'm with you, but man, that's rough.
It's true though.
I'm not arguing. Hey, I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah,
I can't argue the logic.
Yeah.
Because how do you go from a culture that doesn't amass any, but then you don't have anything?
Right.
It's like the acquisition of wealth. Okay, great. I mean, we can just take your vineyard and turn it into housing.
Right. Which, and the funny thing is, and here's the irony of all this, and I've made this argument before, but I'm curious to see what you think of it, because I don't think I made it in front of you. If Picard was correct about his statements about the economy in the 24th century, okay, just giving it to him for a minute. If he's correct about then he is one of the most inhumane and cruel people we've ever seen in the history of Trek. You want to know why?
Well, yeah.
Because he has an entire almost city of Romulan slaves.
What are you talking about?
Okay, if there's no compensation for your labor, and he's got Romulans working his fields in Picard season 1 and 2.
He's there. You've given him a place to live.
Yeah, slave quarters.
They're indentured servants.
They're slaves.
They're not slaves. They are equals who have to eat at the small table.
They're equals at the small table? That's the very definition of being unequal.
I was like, man, that's terrible.
He even has 2 house slaves that are prominent characters. assuming for a minute, and this is why I'm saying this is assuming he's correct about the economy. If there's no money, no financial transactions of any kind, that means that the Romulans that work his lands, that pick his grapes, that make his wine, that serve him his tea, are not being paid a dime.
Well, I would think that we would almost have to be able to. Can we pay with replicated latinum?
No, that would be fraud right there. I
Why
mean,
would it be fraud? It's all
let me make a photocopy of a nice note and give it to you as payment.
Hey, how we do
And how are you going to use that if there's no money? What's it do for you?
They get free housing and one gets to pleasure me. The first was perfect in how it ended.
Can't argue.
They get free housing and one gets to pleasure me.
There you go. Words.
So part of her payment is she gets to pleasure Picard. So thank you, Picard, for the $1. Which, how did you give me $1 if there's no money? Huh?
It was a replicated dollar.
Yeah, well, there's another word for that. It's called counterfeit.
No, it's called data
If you replicate $1 right now, you are committing a federal crime.
Bitcoin. That's what it is at this point.
It's not Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is just the replicated dollars from Star Trek. Don't buy into the hype.
It's Picard is a slave is a slave.
Is it slave owner?
There's no way around it unless either Picard is a slave owner or he doesn't realize that there is an economy.
I don't even know what to say right now.
Yeah, take your choice, buddy. Mic drop. I'm waiting for your answer.
I gotta come back. No, I gotta. This is
Don't wait for the translation. Answer me now.
for real. This is one that I am not coming back from. You are correct. I will concede this entire platform to you.
Yes.
You are correct. The white man has beaten the black man down. Good job, sir. Good job, sir. That's all I got left, man. That's all I got left. You
gotta try to appeal to get pity because you're black.
No, you're good. Oh my gosh, that's great.
So, but that's to me is but anyway, but we were talking mainly about the dates of World War III.
Sure.
So, based on what we see in TNG, it doesn't appear that they actually said anything that was contradictory to the original series.
Okay.
Now, I believe and I don't remember what episode it was. Somebody in the chat help me out if you know. I believe in Deep Space Nine is when they first kind of gaffed the date, and it might have been. I don't think it was the Bell Riots, but it was something. Let's see. When in DS9 was.
Yeah, there was one episode. The episode where we went back to like the year the show was actually airing. Like we went back to, if it was 97,
here we go.
Back to 97.
World War III is mentioned in Deep Space Nine as a predicted event in the Star Trek timeline that was scheduled to begin in 2026. And let's see.
Keep reading. I'm interested.
So in past tense part 2, this is off of Memory Alpha. Let me see if I can find where it says. Prior to the war in 1968, blah, 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 blah. Let's see.
Creed mentions the TNG contradicting TOS and what Klingons look like.
TNG contradicting. Well, they explain that. They actually do come back and explain that that's due to genetic manipulation.
That's right. And Worf just doesn't. They don't talk about it with outsiders.
Yeah. Now, of course, we know that it didn't go down exactly the way that it may have gone in Enterprise, because Enterprise is in a different timeline. But we do know that it's entirely possible that the Klingons were experimenting with augment DNA, just like they did in the Prime timeline, causing them to go, smooth skinned, and then eventually they reverted that and went back to
Is
bumpy.
that what's always said that has happened?
Yeah. So if you, oh yeah, that's right. You never watched it. Oh my gosh, you are such an idiot. We got to get to watching that stuff. There is like it's like 4 or 5 episodes over the course of the fourth season that deal with it, as far as how the Klingons become smooth headed.
Wow.
Let's see. World War III was the last of Earth's 3 world wars, lasting from 2026 to 2053. The conflict involved nuclear cataclysm as well as genocide and eco-terrorism, post-atomic horror, aftermath persisted as late as 2079. All right, so 9 new Discovery New Eden, Strange New Worlds.
So is this before or after? Like, was First Contact before or after this?
Well, that's the problem. Is that Star Trek First Contact, the movie, or are you talking about the date?
The events of the movie where we encountered the Vulcans for the first time.
So the events of First Contact take place in 2063.
Okay.
They are saying that World War III ended in 2053, 10 years before that. However, and this is where it kind of gets kind of weird, because if First Contact happened in 2063, the way that it was depicted in Star Trek First Contact, why is it that by 2079 we were living in this post-atomic horror where courts were like queues were in existence? Because
Well, remember, there could have been a few holdovers left over in the world. It's not like it was, maybe we weren't all like that, but at the same time,
it sounded like the way that Q describes that is that this is just the way the court system was. Because he said that all United Earth nonsense had been abolished by 2079. And so the problem is, what if 2063 First Contact spurred this whole era of enlightenment? How is it that in 2079 you're living in a post-atomic horror?
The triple timeline theory.
Yes, exactly. And it's details like that we're going to work into the triple timeline theory. And the amazing thing is, I guarantee it'll all work out.
I believe it.
Yeah. So.
I do. I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and as we remember last week, if you wanted to, you're more
And
than
thank you, Daniel. Daniel's the 82nd subscriber over on Salty Plus. Thank you. Are you subscribed on NerdFights? Because there's that one as well.
That's right. Nerd Fighting.
Yeah.
Whoa, everybody was nerd fighting. No? Okay, never mind.
No.
So why don't you give everybody just a little bit of a sample, a little bit of a taste of that triple timeline theory we're talking about.
You want me to give another sample of it?
Just a little something, a soupçon of some.
What
of
we've
that.
been talking about. I mean, like, let's think about World War III. Is that the World War III is a major focal point